How about them Cowboys? How does the man who built the Cowboys dynasty walk away at his absolute peak? Jimmy Johnson only coached 5 full seasons in Dallas, 2 Super Bowls, a roster stacked with Hall of Famers, and then he was gone. The NFL hasn't stopped debating that decision since. Jimmy Johnson wasn't supposed to be an NFL coach. He grew up in Port Arthur, Texas, a tough refinery town on the Gulf Coast where football was religion. At Thomas Jefferson High, Johnson was a hard-nosed player who earned a scholarship to Arkansas. There, he was part of Frank Broyles' 1964 national championship team, lining up alongside Jerry Jones, the man who would one day hire and fire him. That bond, forged as teammates, shaped the strained partnership that later defined the Cowboys dynasty. Before Miami, he cut his teeth at Oklahoma State, grinding out respect by turning a struggling program into a contender. At the University of Miami, he became a legend. His Hurricanes weren't just winners, they were cultural disruptors. They taunted, they celebrated, they showed up in fatigues before bowl games. They won a national championship in 1987 and made swagger a weapon. Critics called them arrogant. Johnson called them prepared. They rattled the establishment and brought in blue-chip recruits who wanted to be part of a rebellion. So, when Jerry Jones bought the Cowboys in 1989, he turned to his old college teammate. The move was seismic. Jerry fired Tom Landry, the only coach the Cowboys had ever known. Fans were devastated. At his introductory press conference, Johnson was booed. To many, he was the villain who pushed out a saint. The team collapsed to 1-15. The media mocked him, but Johnson didn't flinch. He was trying to patch Landry's team. He was tearing it down to the studs. This wasn't failure, it was demolition before reconstruction. He began cutting veterans, trading away names that fans still loved. Johnson was cold-blooded when it came to reshaping a roster. His message was clear: you either buy into my culture or you're gone. Then came the Herschel Walker trade. Herschel was Dallas's only star, the player every marketing campaign leaned on. Trading him was unthinkable. But Johnson knew Minnesota was desperate. He dangled Herschel like bait, and the Vikings paid a king's ransom. Players, picks, future capital. The league laughed at Dallas. Analysts predicted the Cowboys wouldn't recover for a decade, but Johnson had the last laugh. Those picks became the spine of a dynasty. Emmitt Smith, the NFL's all-time rushing king. Darren Woodson, the defensive enforcer. Russell Maryland, the #1 overall pick anchoring the line. Dallas turned throw-in players into trade chips for even more picks. And through shrewd maneuvering, Johnson stacked an offensive line so dominant it made Emmitt unstoppable. From 1-15 to a playoff berth in just 3 years, the turnaround was complete. By 1992, America's team was king again. Johnson's Cowboys won the Super Bowl. In 1993, they repeated. The roster was loaded. Troy Aikman, precise, calm under pressure. Emmitt Smith, relentless, powerful. Michael Irvin, the emotional heartbeat. Charles Haley, the disruptor. Ken Norton Jr., the enforcer. Speed, swagger, everywhere. Johnson set the tone. Practices were grueling, standards unforgiving. Players said his training camps felt like survival contests. Irvin swore games were easier than practices. That was the point. The Cowboys weren't just winning, they were cultural icons. The triplets graced magazine covers. Dallas became primetime television. Cheerleaders in silver and blue. Halftime shows that felt like Hollywood productions. The Cowboys became America's obsession. Emmitt Smith even held out in 1993, missing the first 2 games. Dallas lost both. Panic set in, and Johnson knew he had leverage. Jerry caved, gave Emmitt his money. Smith went on to win MVP and Super Bowl MVP in the same season. That drama only added to the legend. The Cowboys became the NFL's highest-rated team on television. They were the pop stars of football. For many fans, the early 90s Cowboys are still the peak of NFL culture. But while the team soared, tension simmered. Jerry Jones wasn't content being the owner. He wanted to be seen as co-architect. Johnson bristled. He believed credit belonged on the sideline, not the luxury box. Their friendship dissolved into a cold war of egos. In 1994, chasing an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl, the partnership imploded. Jerry and Jimmy could no longer coexist. Stories leaked of heated arguments. Jones dismissed Johnson's importance in the press. Johnson shot back he couldn't work under those conditions. The breakup came suddenly. At the March 1994 press conference, Jones smiled as he thanked Johnson for his service. Johnson's face told the story, furious, exhausted, finished. Whether he quit or Jones shoved him out depends on who you ask. But the result was the same. The dynasty's architect was gone. Jones infamously claimed 500 coaches could win with this team. Barry Switzer did, capturing a Super Bowl with Johnson's roster. But after that, the dynasty cracked. The Cowboys of the 90s faded, never to be rebuilt. Johnson wasn't finished. In 1996, he returned to the NFL with the Miami Dolphins. This time, he inherited a Hall of Fame quarterback, Dan Marino. But Johnson's philosophy clashed with Marino's style. Johnson wanted balance, a punishing ground game, a defense-first identity. Marino wanted the ball in the air. The compromise never worked. Miami made the playoffs, but each time fell short. The low point came in 1999, a humiliating 62-7 playoff loss to the Jaguars. Marino was embarrassed. Johnson was drained. Both retired. For a man who once commanded dynasties, it was a humbling end. From there, he found a new life as a broadcaster. On Fox, Johnson's sharp mind and dry humor made him a fan favorite. He went from fiery sideline general to silver-haired analyst, laughing alongside Terry Bradshaw every Sunday. For younger fans, he became the wise storyteller, the man with 2 rings and countless one-liners. And then in 2020, Johnson finally got his Hall of Fame moment. On live TV, his old rival Troy Aikman broke into tears announcing Jimmy's induction. For Cowboys fans, it felt like overdue justice. Jimmy Johnson stands as one of the rare coaches who conquered both college and the NFL. At Miami, he built swagger into dominance. In Dallas, he changed the NFL's blueprint, valuing draft picks like gold, cutting veterans without hesitation, building speed and physicality on both sides of the ball. Every modern rebuild owes something to Johnson's playbook. Bill Walsh brought innovation. Bill Parcells brought toughness. Bill Belichick brought adaptability. Johnson brought ruthless efficiency. But what defines him isn't just the winning, it's the walkaway. At his peak, with the Cowboys set to dominate for years, he left. And the greatest what-if of all, if Johnson had stayed, would Dallas have won 5 straight? Could they have eclipsed the Steelers of the 70s as the NFL's greatest dynasty? For Cowboys fans, the answer doesn't even matter. The legend of Jimmy Johnson is already written. And now, we turn to the modern sideline mastermind, Sean McVay. Just like Johnson reshaped the NFL in the 90s, McVay is rewriting it today, using speed, motion, creativity to make even elite defenses look lost.